Apparently, blasting your hands with bathroom air is the clean, modern way to dry them.
Well, actually...
Right now, picture the last 2 seconds before you leave a public bathroom. Your hands are clean and dripping, and you have a choice. On the wall, a machine that roars to life when you wave at it. No touching, no waste, the modern one. Or a stack of paper towels, old-fashioned. A little wasteful, the thing you feel slightly guilty for using. You pick the dryer because touching nothing feels like the clean choice. So why do the people whose entire job is stopping the spread of disease quietly pick the paper towel? You think the dryer is the hygienic one. And that belief has it almost perfectly backwards. So let us walk into that bathroom and watch what is actually happening. Most people believe a hand dryer is clean for one obvious reason. You never touch it. No germy handle, no shared surface. The warm air just does its work and you walk away. Well, actually, whether you touched anything is the wrong question entirely. Because the real story of that bathroom is not on the surfaces, it is in the air. And to understand it, you have to start somewhere you would never think to look. The toilet. Here's a fact almost no one has ever been told. Nearly every toilet in a public bathroom has no lid. And a toilet without a lid, when it flushes, does not just send water down, it fires water up. In 2022, engineers at the University of Colorado Boulder pointed lasers at an ordinary lidless public toilet and filmed a single flush. What they found was violent, and the flush shoots a jet of tiny droplets upward at over 2 meters per second, and that plume climbs to nearly 5 feet in the air, about head and hand height, in under 8 seconds. And because those droplets are so small, they do not fall back down. They hang there, suspended in the air of that room, for up to an entire hour after one flush, every one of them carrying whatever just left the bowl. So the air in a public bathroom is not empty. It is a fine, invisible fog, and you are standing in it, hands freshly washed, about to dry them. Now, the dryer. We imagine it as a gentle warm breeze. It is not. A hand dryer is a blower, and a jet dryer moves air at hundreds of miles per hour. It does two things at once, and both are bad. First, it does not evaporate the water off your hands so much as blast it off, and that water does not disappear. It shatters into a spray of tiny droplets, carrying whatever was still on your skin, and it launches them. In a study led by microbiologists at the University of Leeds, a jet dryer flung that spray up to 5 feet across the room, while a paper towel spread it barely 1.5 feet. And the amount of bacteria they measured floating in the air right next to a running jet dryer was 27 times higher than next to someone using paper towels. 27 times. But here's the part that connects back to the toilet. The dryer is not only spreading your germs, it is a fan. It grabs the air of the room, that fine suspended fog we just talked about, and it drives it straight down onto your clean, wet hands and back out into the room at high speed. Researchers proved the machine itself was doing this by putting a filter on the air intake. That one filter cut the bacteria the dryer spat out by 4 times, which means the dryer had been quietly inhaling the bathroom and breathing it back onto everyone in it. You did not touch anything? You did not have to? The machine did the touching for you with the air, and it does not stop at your hands. In another study, scientists put a harmless test virus on volunteers' hands and had them dry off. When they used the jet dryer, the person's own face got sprayed with that virus 88% of the time. With a paper towel, 29%. The people simply standing nearby, 3 and 6 feet away, got hit with about 10 times more contamination too. And here's the eeriest detail. When they measured again 15 minutes later, the contamination on people's faces was still climbing, because the cloud the dryer made was so fine it was still drifting around the room, still landing, long after the person who made it had walked out. So it should not surprise you where this leads. Teams ran a real-world test across hospitals in 3 different countries, switching month by month between jet dryers and paper towels, and swabbing everything. When the jet dryers were running, they pulled at least 5 times more bacteria off the bathroom floors, and on the dryers themselves, they found staph, including the drug-resistant kind, MRSA, 3 times more often than on the paper towel dispensers. The scientists' conclusion was blunt. Jet air dryers should not be used in hospital bathrooms. So what is the humble paper towel actually doing that the roaring machine is not? Two quiet things. First, it dries you completely and fast, and drying matters far more than you think. Wet hands are sticky for germs. One classic study measured exactly this. Damp, undried hands transferred around 68,000 bacteria to the next thing they touched. Dried hands, about 140. Drying your hands properly removes over 99% of what a single touch would otherwise pass on. A slow, warm air dryer that leaves your hands a little damp skips that protection entirely. And second, a paper towel does something no jet of air ever can. It physically wipes. The friction drags leftover microbes and dead skin right off your hands and traps them in the paper, which you then throw in the bin. And a proper dispenser hands you one fresh sheet from inside, so the part you touch was never touched by anyone else. Now I have to be straight with you, because this is the part most videos leave out. This fight is not clean. Almost every study that makes dryers look bad was funded, directly or indirectly, by the paper towel industry. And the one big review that shrugged and said there was no clear winner, that one was funded by a hand dryer company. Both sides pay for the science that flatters them, so hold it all a little loosely. And here's the honest limit of what we know. Not a single study has ever proven that using a hand dryer actually makes you sick. All of this is about germs moving through the air, not about anyone catching a disease. On top of that, the newest jet dryers dry as fast as a towel. And one study even found they pull the most bacteria off your hands. Dryer's not a cartoon villain. But look at what every one of those contamination studies is really saying. The problem was never whether your hands got dry. The problem is where the germs go. A paper towel takes them out of the world. It folds them into itself and drops them in the trash. A jet dryer takes those same germs, plus the invisible fog already hanging in that room, and throws all of it into the air that you and the next person are about to breathe. One method is a net, the other is a leaf blower. And when you ask the people who run hospitals, the people who genuinely cannot afford to be wrong about this, you find they quietly stock the paper towels. So the next time you are standing at that sink, hands dripping, and you reach for the machine because touching nothing feels clean, stop for just 1 second. Picture the fog you cannot see. Picture the blower grabbing it and aiming it at your hands and your face. And then picture the boring little paper towel doing the oldest trick in all of hygiene, not blowing the mess around the room, just quietly wiping it away. The clean choice was never the one that touched nothing. It was the one that took something with it when it left.